What if you took a really average person who has no real ambitions or dreams and you gave him a second chance at life? That's the question that gets answered in the film Seconds. The film also asks the question, should you answer a phone call from a long dead friend? And the answer is no, because then you wake up in the morning looking like Rock Hudson and you still don't know what to do with your life. All right, so all jokes aside, this is a really good movie. Okay, so it's after a long time I saw like a genuinely good science fiction movie. So the film is called Seconds. It's from 1966, directed by John Frankenheimer. John Frankenheimer also directed Manchurian Candidate. He made Birdman from Alcatraz. He also did Ronin, which was like one of his last films that he did. So he's like a genuinely excellent filmmaker. Okay, the film stars Rock Hudson, and let me just take a look at my list. Okay, so the film stars Rock Hudson, John Randolph, Frances Reed plays his wife, and Salome Jens plays this young woman that Rock Hudson meets later on in the movie. It's based on a novel by David Ely, and the screenplay was written by Louis John Carlino. All right, so just to give you like a brief idea of the plot, because I don't really want to spoil too much. Okay, so the movie starts off, and you have this guy called Arthur Hamilton, who's played by John Randolph. So he's like a middle-aged guy. I can't exactly make out, but somewhere in his late 50s or early 60s, and he's a banker, and I wouldn't say happily married, but he's married. He has a daughter who is about to get married, so his life is pretty well set. Like he doesn't really have anything going on, and he doesn't seem like the sort who is sort of very ambitious about anything. So when the movie starts, you start off in like the Grand Central Station, and the camera is sort of following him, and there's some other guy who's following Arthur Hamilton. And then when Arthur Hamilton reaches the train, someone puts like a note in his hand and leaves.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes?
So the note has an address, which makes him very worried for some reason. So then he gets back home and he's still worried. In the night, he gets a phone call from a friend of his who is supposed to be dead.
Look, I don't know who you are, but Charlie Evans. Stop saying that. Charlie Evans is dead.
And his friend says like, no, I'm not dead. Like I went through something and it was amazing, and I've given you the address, so just come down to the address and it'll be the best thing you've ever done in your life. So at first he's not like too keen on it, but then he's like, okay, why not? And so then through like a series of encounters, he finally ends up at this sort of like this super secret office, which is in the back of like he reaches like what's like a butchery, and then they put him in a van and they take him to some other building which he can't see because he's just kept in the back of the van. This is all very sort of top secret. And then once he gets there, they sort of manage to convince slash sort of coerce him, and the whole idea is that they're going to fake his death, and then they're going to give him a brand new life.
My name is Ruby. I've been assigned to go over the circumstances of your death with you.
What?
But they say, okay, we'll because you're not doing much with your life right now, but we'll give you a brand new life. You'll have like in a completely different place, a new house, new everything, and then you can start your life afresh. And so he kind of realizes that he doesn't really have much going on.
Excuse an old fool prying, son, but what does it all mean? You can't mean anything now anymore. There's nothing anymore, is there? Anything at all?
So eventually he says yes. So there's like this huge long process that happens. They do like a lot of plastic surgery and everything. And they like change him completely. So when he wakes up, finally he's Rock Hudson.
Easy does it. You'll be all right, son.
And then they, put him in a new house. His new name is Antiochus Wilson, but like everyone calls him Charlie Wilson. And they give him like this new house, which is like a beach house.
Welcome home, Mr. Wilson. My name is John. I've been assigned to help you.
It's very nice.
I think you'll be quite comfortable, sir.
Then the rest of the movie is him sort of trying to settle into that life, but will he settle in the life, or will he not settle in the life? Like that's the movie of like when you are given this gift, what will you do with it? Like that's the core of the film. So the movie is based on a novel, but you can also see like it takes inspiration from the story of Faust, which is like a German folklore from I think like the 1600s. So the story of Faust is sort of similar to this in the sense that it revolves around this man named Faust who is sort of very bored with his life and eventually sort of calls upon the devil to he's like, give me all the knowledge in the world and make me younger or whatever, and I want to sort of enjoy my life. So the devil gives him like, puts in like a younger or like a lesser demon with him who will fulfill all of his wishes, and at the end of it, like for a certain number of years, and then at the end of it his soul will forever belong to the devil. So the plot of this film is kind of similar, except that like Arthur Hamilton doesn't really want to transform. Like he's sort of convinced into transforming into like a younger guy, but he also has no real hopes or dreams or ambitions. He's not like, oh, I always wanted to be like an artist and now I'll get to be an artist. Like he has nothing like that. So when he does transform, he's still kind of lost of what he wants to, which is what makes the film very interesting. Like he doesn't go into this. It's not like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde where he suddenly transforms and becomes this really crazy person. You kind of realize like, okay, he was boring before and he's still kind of boring. So what is he going to do now? So as I said, like the film is genuinely good. Like after a long time I saw like a science fiction movie which had like a very like a clever premise, and it's executed very nicely. Like it kind of reminded me a bit of something like Gattaca in the sense that it is science fiction, but the focus is more on like the humans. Like it's not science fiction in the sense of like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's more science fiction in the sense that there is a concept and they're just trying to sort of build up on that concept. So if you're into those kinds of sci-fi movies, it is definitely worth a watch. From an acting standpoint, Rock Hudson is great. John Randolph does a fantastic job as like the older guy than who eventually becomes Rock Hudson. Salome Jens has like a smaller role. She's the woman that Rock Hudson meets after his transformation. So overall, from an acting standpoint, like everyone does a really good job. From what I read on like Wikipedia, it turns out that John Frankenheimer's first choice for the role was Laurence Olivier. But Paramount Pictures, I think Paramount Pictures produced this movie. They weren't too keen on it because Laurence Olivier wasn't like a big name movie star. So they eventually said like, no, go with like Rock Hudson or someone, like someone who's sort of a known name. And it turned out that Rock Hudson was kind of getting tired of doing all the romantic films that he used to do. So he was also sort of keen on doing something like this. John Frankenheimer speaks very nicely about Rock Hudson. He's one of the nicest guys I ever met. Uh, and also, like, initially, from what I read, the plan was that Rock Hudson would play both the roles. Like, he would do like, they would do like old age makeup, and he would play the older guy, and then he would play the younger guy. But Rock Hudson wasn't confident enough that he could play the older role, so which is why they eventually got John Randolph to play the older the older version. The one negative I have for the film is that there is this one sequence in the middle which feels really sort of stretched out. So there's like this one, not exactly like an orgy scene, but it's this they like he's very uptight. He's never been like very loose and whatever. He doesn't really have a lot of fun. So when he meets Salome Jens and they go to like this hippie commune or something, and there's like this huge tub filled with grapes, and they're going to crush grapes, and then everybody starts to strip and like jump in, and he wants to leave, and like he's very uptight. He doesn't want to do any of the stuff, and that sequence sort of goes on for like a fairly long time. Like, I kind of understand why that sequence is there, because it's sort of like, let's loosen him up a bit, but it just sort of drags on a bit too long. Beyond that, the pacing of the film is excellent. Like, you don't really get bored at any real point in time. The other thing I really liked about the movie was the cinematography. Especially like this one thing that they do. Like, overall it's shot really well, but there's this one point like in the beginning, and also there's like a party scene later on in the movie, and you have like this shot where they sort of attach the camera to the actor. Now, from like today's standpoint, that's not a big deal because cameras are pretty light. Like, you see that a lot of times. Like, you can just get a small rig and take like a GoPro and attach it to yourself. So when you move, the camera sort of moves with you. It's pretty easy to do that nowadays. But to do it back then in 1966, like, even if you want to do it today with like a film camera, like, film cameras are not like digital film cameras are pretty small. Like, if you look at a Red, like the basic body is about like that big. Even if you attach like a lens and a battery, it's still not going to be more than maybe like 2 or 3 kilos. But if you talk about a camera from 1966, those things are massive, right? And you have like the film roll in there, and I don't know how you're running power into the thing. And they do the shot where it's like genuinely attached to someone's body, and it is crazy. So whenever you think like, oh, like, we're doing very innovative things with cameras now, like, there were directors who were doing like pretty insane shit even back then. The other interesting thing about the film is the opening title sequence, which was done by Saul Bass and his partner Elaine Bass. And Saul Bass had previously worked with John Frankenheimer on Grand Prix. Grand Prix has an excellent title sequence as well. This one is really worth looking at, but it's very sort of strange and unnerving because it has like they do like these close-ups of the human face, and then it sort of distorts into something else, and then it sort of keeps distorting. Like, you'll get a close-up of like a nose and it distorts, and then you get a close-up of an eyeball. I don't know how they did it, like what kind of optical stuff they were doing, but it is sort of it's very memorable. So would I recommend the movie? Absolutely. Like, this is easily one of the best science fiction films I have seen in a pretty long time. And I've been seeing a lot of weird movies, so it's good to watch like a really good movie once in a while and not watch something like Hanzo the Razor, which is also fun. But yeah, so this is like a really nice sort of movie for, grown-ups, which has sort of very interesting ideas that sort of make you think a little bit. But yeah, definitely worth watching if you're into science fiction movies, or even if you're not, if you want to watch like an interesting drama movie, because it's mostly a drama movie. Like there isn't like a lot of sci-fi stuff happening here. So from either standpoint, it is definitely worth watching.